Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, some conifer and deciduous work. I have my blue star juniper in front of us right now, and I just want to make a couple of slight trims this late spring. All the buds are elongating, starting to get longer, and this is a species that tends to droop a lot. And so if things get really long, really fast, you have some really droopy branches. But I want to go ahead and pick out a few of the things in here that can show off the trunk a little bit better, show the three trunks. It is a triple trunk. And yeah, we're just going to clean it up just a little bit, nothing major. But before I show you that, I'm going to spin it around and do some assessment of the tree. I'm going to show you a tree that I trimmed up just the other day. Now, I didn't turn on any microphones. I just clipped away, spun around, looked at the tree, and without any commentary, here's a peek at an eastern white cedar. The eastern white cedar, the thuja. And this is a tree from my friend William. So William gave me this tree to take care of over the winter months. And it started out quite bushy, as you can see. And light was not getting into the inner part of the tree. and we were starting to get some real long leggy branches without any taper per se. And so I cleaned up a little bit of this left side. This was a big chop right here and this one right here. So we got all these fine young branches that can bush out, and we're gonna wire these possibly in place. And this back branch was a great big long branch out here that in the midst of me monkeying around with it, I did snap it. So I said, hey, there's a gin. So we have a nice gin on this side. We got this branch here that could curve around back over this way for some texture in the back of the tree. This we could do some stuff with as well. I left that there. This is what I'm considering the front of the tree. I haven't talked to William about the front, but I just love all the bark movement here. And I peeled away some of the bark to get that nice dark reddish color and seeing some of this tree in its glory. Then there's still the gnarly trunks up here and the dead wood and a lot of gin work. And this thing's an old tree that's been through a lot. And I hope this year it's just going to kind of poof and fill out. We still have an apex. And so there is the eastern white cedar. Nice big old tree from my friend William that I'm co-caring for with William. We'll see him later this summer and get his trees back in his neighborhood to grow for the rest of the season. It was one of those really thick trees that, talking about every branch, I felt like, you know what, I just wanted to work on this tree. I just want to sit with my tree sometimes and work with it. So we'll put this back on the benches and we'll get out that blue star juniper. The blue star juniper, as I mentioned earlier, kind of a flopsy mopsy tree. They lean over a lot. So I had to wire this one to get that 3 trunk look. You know, this is a juniper that, you know, typically junipers in our neck of the woods ground cover everywhere. So I created this triple trunk here. You know, we got some movement to these things, and we just want to make sure that we're going to make this go in the right direction. This one's going down. Let's just cut that off. So this is a question branch right here. I got these two right here that are parallel. Well, first of all, back here, this is shooting straight up in the air. I'm going to get rid of that. But you see how these two parallel branches? Which one do I keep? Which one do I not keep? This one's going straight down. Let's get rid of that. I have a really nice new branch growing right there. That's this year's new growth. So if I cut all this off, this could grow down here. And that's what I'll do. I'm going to cut that off right now. But now in order for that to be seen, it's being shadowed out by tree limbs up here. So I think I'll make this shorter. I'll make this shorter and this shorter. And we'll see if we can get some of these lower branches to grow out here. Now this one's kind of dangling over here as well. We got new shoots back here. And here's a new shoot as well. So let's cut this one back as well. This will be the new part of the tree. This will grow out. These branches will thicken up, and we have some nice branching in the future. Now this is an eye poker branch. We're going to go ahead and cut that right off today because we have 2 down here. And this one goes inside, so we're going to cut this one off. We'll just leave this one to grow up like it is. We'll just leave it alone. This one, we're going to cut this downward branch kind of off. And now we've opened up the trunk here. We can kind of see this. This is still in the way of the top part of the trunk, but we have a little gap here. I don't mind that so much. But I'm going to get rid of this guy here, just to make this the main focus over here and let those shoot out now. And this one's kind of coming at us again, so let's shoot that out. And then the top is pretty thick. I go ahead and thin that out. This one's coming at us. Let's just cut that off. We've got a nice little apex of this tree. And as we spin it around back here, we got this one shooting out the back. Let's just get rid of that. Now we've created some space in here. We've got this tip up here. Any of these could become the new apex here. We'll kind of see what stays healthy this year. And you see how this one is kind of clouding inside too. We'll cut that off and leave it for those 2 new buds right there. Plus there's some green back here. So this one's growing inside. Let's get rid of that one. And you notice this tree has a branch back here. I think we're just going to cut that off completely. Let us see through that tree. We have this one right here that could branch out and give some back texture right in here. So we'll let that to grow, and we can let this one maybe go. And this one's dangling a little bit right here. This guy right here. Let's get rid of that guy. And as a matter of fact, there's 3 branches from this same spot. Let's get rid of this all together. And then again, here's this flopsy mopsy tree, where if I cut this downward hanging stuff, maybe it'll thicken up and grow more out and up. So there, was thick, almost as thick as this one, and now we've thinned that out. We'll let that push out. We got all this fertilizer on here. We'll be putting on some new fertilizer here in a couple of weeks because this has almost run its course. And then we'll see where these trees end up. These are kind of growing at us here. I think I'm going to take this big chunk one off right here. Open that up, see the tip of my wire right there. Got some nice branching in here. This is the primary branch right here. It's real nice and stiff, comes up this direction, shoots off to the left here, and comes out to the right. 2 branches from one spot. Let's get rid of that. And we're going to thin this out a little bit, taking the bottom branch off. And who knows where that'll go. So this is a tricky one. We do have that nice firm branch here, but it's kind of in our way for the design of this tree. We're just going to go ahead and cut this back a little bit closer here to the, there we go, a little bit less of a eye poker, if you will. And now when you see that tree over here, you can kind of see all those trees, all those trunks. And we might have to cut some of these off. As a matter of fact, you see this section right here, boom, boom, boom. It's just all straight here. Branch, 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 branch. Let's cut this one off there. We just created a little bit of a gap right there. We'll get rid of this one too. There, you see that? Now we can kind of see inside here in our trunk. This one's kind of growing down. This one's kind of growing down. And we can shorten this guy up. Get this downward kind of facing one out of there. This one's super big and long. We'll cut that back a little bit, but now we can kind of see a little bit more of this tree on this side, just a little bit. The wire kind of dictated some of this growth, I'm thinking. Which ones to keep and which ones to take off. Get this long one out back, we can shorten. This one's kind of growing at us. I can see that trunk a little bit better. If we cut this back just a little bit more, there we go. There we go. And we have 3 branches in here. 3 or 4, right in this area here. Let's cut that front one off. Let's leave that one for the moment, till we see what's going on in the back. And if I just shorten this one off to this guy, we'll just kind of leave that there. Now we have 2 branches right here that are totally competing against each other, kind of blocking each other out. I think we're going to cut the top one of the 2 off. There we go, leave that one back here. Got one that wasn't really getting much of the sun back here. There we go. I have to decide which tree is going to be the tallest. Is the one in the back make sense to be the tallest? Probably not. These 2 will probably be contenders for that. Could be this one right here with a nice movement on that guy. We can still manipulate that tree back there. Now that tree back there is super big and thick. And we're going to thin this one out. Branch is coming out at us a little bit. I think this can be the apex knot over here. This one's kind of crunching in towards the front here. And some, again, dangling branches. Fighting for sun. So that back one is still thicker than the other ones. Got places where there's 2 and 3 branches coming out all at once. We don't need that. So we just thin this guy out a little bit. And we still have this conical type shape, and this back one is the tall one for now, and I'll leave it there for now because it gives it a little bit more of a nicer shape. Otherwise we'll have this big round dome. I could get rid of this guy right here, help with that shape a little bit more. Force that point type shape a little bit more. And again, the more branches are on these, the heavier it's going to be, and it's going to be harder for it to grow up instead of wanting to droop down. Got a real thick section back here still. So this is going to let a lot of light in here for the rest of this growing season. A lot of fertilizer on here. And we'll just call it right there. Short and sweet. Now we can kind of see the trunk a little bit better on all 3 trees. Got that pretty blue color on these blue star junipers. And yeah, we'll put this back on the bench and we'll check out a deciduous tree for today. I have a lot of Japanese maples, and I cut a few of them back last year from big sticks to small sticks. This is actually the bottom half of my first air layer on this Japanese maple years ago. You can check out the playlist for some of my air layers. And this is the bottom one. We got a nice little nabari forming down there, starting to get a little wider. I'm not going for a huge tree. If I was going for a huge tree, I'd have this in a grow box probably. You put them in a grow box, let those roots grow out big and thick, and let this shoot out. But I'm going to let this one start to take shape now. I have 2 primary branches down below. We have kind of left and right, growing very traditionally like the neighborhood maple trees that I have here, where they have a whole bunch of branches that grow straight up. A whole bunch of them, main branches. So we've got this one over here, we've got this one over here. And then the trunk keeps going up, and then we have a couple of branches that are feeding off up here. And again, I just want to clean this out now to tell this thing where to put more energy, or I'm going to have really thick sections like right in here. You see how thick this section got, and we cut off some branches there. And so this is going to get real thick this year with this one. And if I let all this growth grow like crazy, I might have a little bit of a more of a nubby section than I really want. So I'm going to go ahead and maple is very common for doing this. In the Japanese maple, shooting out all kinds of buds right here. All kinds of shoots, I should say. Look at this right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 branches, all from my main branch here. So where do I want this to go? Don't want that bottom one. Don't want that bottom. That'd be 7. Would I have 6 before? Now that's 7. We got those gone. I still have 6 left, plus one that died off already. This one I want to cut off as well. So this is the front of this tree, and this does grow at a 90-degree angle. And this one right here comes back at us. I cut that one off. And the best looking branch is back here. But I like the one shooting out more, so I'm going to go the one shooting out. And then we just cut most of that off. Where we had 7, we now have 1. And this is a Japanese maple, so this is probably going to shoot out more secondary growth on these points right here that I just nubbed off later on this year. But we'll let this thing shoot out the rest of this year. I won't cut this one all year long. And there's another one behind it back here that I'm just going to shorten just a little bit. Now these two are the bottom branch here, and we'll let that shoot out the rest of this growing season, all out here. We picked our 2 branches. And if the other branches kind of grow in there, we'll get rid of those as well. So when you lift that branch up again, I've got 2 branches. One kind of goes towards the back, and one kind of comes out to the left here. I've got some nice movement on this branch. It wiggles up here, it wiggles over there, and we'll see how that grows over time. Now this guy right here is kind of shooting right back at us. So I don't want it shooting right back at us. And it's got a nice new branch over here, and actually 2 smaller branches right here and here. We can decide what we're going to keep later. We look over to this right branch now. We got this one on the inside growing right in there. I'm going to cut that guy off. We have a nice branch right here. I like that. I'm going to keep him, but then I'm going to cut this one here so it's not competing as much. This one for this one. And I'll cut this one a little shorter. And again, we'll let that grow out the rest of the year. And now the branch right behind it splits into 2 really nice and quick, which is nice. Shoots up this way. I'm just going to let this whole thing run right here and grow out and thicken up that branch right there, because that's where we chopped it back right here last year. Right there. And if we go ahead and cut this little guy right here off, there's the chop point right there. So we've got these 2 growing from the same spot, but it's 1, and it splits into 2 here, splits into 2 here, and there's this one out front. We're going to leave those for now and see where things bulge up. We can clean that off later. Now this guy back here has kind of a weird growth pattern. It grows up back here. I'm going to take this one right here and just got some buds right there. And there'll be some new buds that'll grow there too next year if I allow it. And so we'll cut this off a little bit here and let those shoot up. Now this is really thick and really tall, so I'm going to cut it back to the same size as this one, so these 2 can run at the same speed and get the same thickness. I'll leave that right about there. Actually, this one's a little thicker, so we'll cut that one down 1 more node, and we're just going to let this one go. Now we'll cut the tip off. There we go. And here's the back of that branch right here for some texture in the back. Now technically that crosses behind the trunk, so that might go someday, but I could also wire it over here or do something with it. So it's a nice back branch, because we don't want just a flat tree, so I like that back there. Now we come up to the tip of this tree. You see all these nice new buds right here growing from this spot right here. So we may not even keep this one. We may keep one of these in here. So that'll work out real nice. We got this branch cutting way across over the tree here. We cut that right there and promote it to go up. That would be fantastic. And this one we're going to shorten, and this one we're going to shorten. And this guy we're going to shorten. We'll shorten this one. This one's wanting to grow up and over, so we're going to go ahead and cut this one a little bit shorter as well. It wants to grow. Let's promote to the back. And right in here, with all these little buds in here, there's this little branch trying to grow already in between those other branches. We're going to cut that off. Again, we're going to promote this to grow tall. We're going to cut that one off right there. So, some subtle changes. Where there's an internode, more buds could grow. So this one's not done growing by any stretch. And there we have kind of the front of this tree. This one's kind of in our face a little bit, so that might end up going. We'll just leave it for now. This up here, there are a whole bunch of skinny ones up here trying to grow, so we're going to go ahead and cut a couple of those off. Just let more light in there. I like how this one is split in 2 here and split in 2 and here and there real quick right away, so that's real nice. And we'll leave all that foliage up here to help heal back here a little bit more. And this one we'll have to maybe wire at the end of this year, or next year we'll wire this one out here more. Then we're getting kind of our canopy of our tree. We have our main trunk. It's very, very lacking in taper. So I'm hoping these branches now for the rest of this year can thicken out the whole rest of summer growing season. We'll let this shoot way out and put some girth down here. And we'll keep this up here a little bit shorter. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get this one down. One more. We want to kind of slow down the tip of this tree for this year, because it's going to grow like gangbusters next year as well. So there, I just took a little more energy off up here, and all this energy down here Right here, all of this is going to put all kinds of energy down here and hopefully thicken this up, and we'll slow this down up here. And there we have one of my Japanese maples. So new fertilizer in a couple of weeks. Let this thing shoot out for the rest of summer. And we have some branches forming. Some primary branches that come up and kind of wiggle here a little bit, and hopefully those will thick up and start to heal those wounds, and we'll have a more natural looking tree. There is Japanese maple. We saw the eastern white cedar, we saw the blue star juniper, and a Japanese maple, and we're going to wrap it up today with one of my Zelkova trees. Now, I had a Zelkova forest, and earlier this spring I threw these 3 into a pot. I had 4 or 5, I think it was 4, and I kept 3 and chose this design for 3 in one of the pots that I got from Candace. And so look at how nice and fluffed out this thing is now. It looks like a nice tree. And this is an elm tree that's going to grow all kinds of new growth this year. It'll keep shooting out secondary growth. You can cut these back multiple times a year, and they're going to have some really good growth. So let's just clean this up a little bit too and see if I can control where some of these branches are going to go. And again, this one's growing right at our face. So let's cut it real short back to some inner growth in there. This one's growing inside. Let's just cut that one off. And let's slow this guy down just a tad, and we have kind of a pad right there. We'll cut this one off, and this one will get shorter as well. So you have a nice pad there from this tree, which blocks the back tree, so I might have to make it even shorter at some level so we can kind of see the starting points of that tree back there. And here we go. This one's coming at us. We'll cut that back. I'm going to cut this whole branch off right here so we can see that trunk and that branch. These 2 branches back here are crisscrossing. Let's just go ahead and cut that one completely off. We'll just shorten that guy. And these all look good to do some running. This back one up here, let's cut it to an outward facing branch. And this is all going to grow up this way. This one's growing at us. We're just going to shorten that guy up. We're going to shorten that guy up. And again, like with any bonsai tree, like this branch right here is growing. Just saw it spinning the tree around. It's growing way inside. We'll cut that one off. There you go. We control the growth. We're going to control where it's going to grow. I don't want that to come out front, so this one's going to take over. I don't want this guy to come out front. We're going to cut that whole thing off. Look at this guy inside trying to grow up tall and straight. We don't want that either. There we go. That one's growing inside on a curve. We'll get rid of that guy. We'll shorten this one. So now we can see this trunk again in its glory. And I think this one's just too big right here. Let's just cut that off so we can see our lower branch and we can see that tree behind it eventually. At some point we may consider getting rid of this back branch right here because of all this clutter in here. In the meantime, I'll cut that one off, and we've just freed that up just a little bit in there, that path. This one's growing back at us. We don't like that. We don't want this one. We'll let this shoot out more. Cut that one a little bit shorter. This one's growing at us from way back in here. Cut that one off. That's how these things grow. They just grow like gangbusters and can come from any which way back there. Couple of dead stubs. So I love how the trunks of these trees kind of work together, and then we're going to form this big canopy. So we cleaned out all that stuff in the inside, and we got this one out front that's a little bit in the way of this guy, but as this grows taller, we'll maybe consider cutting more of this one back and making it a little bit shorter so you can see more of that. Matter of fact, right there, we got a little bit thinner right there. There we go. We took this Zelkova mini forest of 3 and cleaned that guy up. Now it'll grow that thick again in a month or so, and then we can trim it back if we want to, and then it'll grow that thick again. So we'll continue picking and choosing the branches that we see fit for the design of this tree as it continues to get older. Cut off dead stubs along the way, and we'll be in good shape. Doesn't even look bad from the back. Here we go. The Zelkova triple forest, triple trunk forest. That's going to wrap it up for today. We cleaned up a few trees.
beautiful weekend to work on the trees, and the backyard's really starting to plump up and look really lush. So great being out here, and I'm so glad that you took some time to spend with me today. So we got some more stuff to do, of course. Still a busy spring before summer hits in a few weeks. And then the road trip. More information on the road trip coming up. Stay tuned for that. Check out episode number 400 for information on the road trip east of the Mississippi and some of the places and people that I might be visiting. All right, hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you on the next one.